Hi, this is Carla and thank you for being here. First of all, I'm very happy you're here because today you will learn about the 10 exact steps or 10 practical tips from moving from an employee to an entrepreneur. So just like you, I've also been an employee. I graduated very early. I graduated when I was 19. I finished a 4-year college course by 19 and I was so young. I was a teenager. I didn't know what to do. So I became an employee right after college, but I didn't really do a good job at being an employee, except that time when I became a writer at an advertising agency. So I think I've had like 3 jobs after college. One was I was an administration assistant and a project assistant for a small government office. The next one is I was a front desk at a Montessori school or a kindergarten school. And the third one was finally one of my dream jobs. I was finally a writer at an advertising agency. The writer gig was the one that lasted me the longest, but after a year I also quit working and I became a full-time freelance writer and entrepreneur. So in this video I'm gonna teach you the 10 exact steps on how I did it and how I've cut the other steps that were wrong and the other things that I did which weren't right, which you might do and I don't want you to do because they'd just be like a waste of time or a mistake, okay? First step is you don't have to view your employment in a bad light. In fact, your employment or you being an employee is very important in determining whether or not you'll be a good entrepreneur. See, I've had 3 jobs right after college and before I became an entrepreneur, and honestly I could say that I wasn't really good at doing my first 2 jobs, but the last job, my dream job, let's say I was a writer at an advertising agency and it was kind of my dream job and it was what I wanted to do since I was a kid. And even now when I'm coaching other copywriters and I'm helping other writers start their careers from being an employee to entrepreneur through one of my programs, I still believe that I could have done better and I could have cherished employment more. So the first step from moving from an employee to an entrepreneur is you should cherish your last few months or maybe even your last year as an employee. Okay, you need to do this because employment is not someone putting you in a box and imprisoning you at a role. Instead, it's actually someone paying you to learn the basic skills of business and to learn the ropes on how to manage your resources, how to manage your time. So when you have a job, you are being told to report at a certain time, you're being given responsibilities, you're given certain expectations, some people to meet. So in fact, you are being trained socially, physically, mentally, and psychologically how to be successful, And as you're doing this, you might actually, make money for someone, which is like your boss or the owner of the company, but you're actually learning the ropes and you're getting paid to do it. Another thing is with employment, you need it so that you can develop good work ethic. So very basic things like tardiness, resourcefulness, and social skills, negotiations, all of these skills, all of these parts of building a good work ethic goes hand in hand with being a good employee. And lastly, when you're employed, you are linked to a particular company, which is also linked to other companies and other decision makers. So if you're employed, it's also an awesome time for you to develop your connections and you build a good relationship with them so that when you finally become an entrepreneur, they still remember you, they remember that you helped them, they remember that you were good, and they might, buy from you or refer someone that they know to you, whether you're selling a product or a service. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, you need to expect to work harder and work longer and work smarter when you move from being an employee to an entrepreneur. So if you're an employee, you might, sometimes you can just dilly-dally, you're paid for the time that you spend in the office, although I don't advise that because that's not building good work ethic. But when you decide to become an entrepreneur, you should expect to work more, work longer, and work harder because when you're starting out, the ratio will not be 1:1, as in 1 move for action equals 1 sale, or or one post, one social media post equals to one sale. It won't be equal. You will need to work more because you're still building your foundation, and you will expect to sell maybe just a little at first because you're still trying to learn the ropes, you're still getting to know your market, your suppliers, if you're selling a service, you're still trying to perfect your offers, and it won't be perfect because you're just starting out, and you need to be gentle with yourself. You need to be good to yourself at this time. So you need to sacrifice more, and you need to expect that you will work more. You will probably work the most when you're transitioning. You'll probably work the most this time because you still have that job, and then you want to have something on the side so that you can make money. And then eventually when you've made enough money that you can leave your job so that you can do this thing full time, and then you become a full-time entrepreneur, then at least you don't have to work as much, or you don't have to work as hard. But the thing is, you have to expect it, and that's why that's practical tip number 2. Okay, so after that, you need to go on to tip number 3, which is that you need to pick one big idea, one business idea, and you need to pick one particular profile of the market that you want to serve. You cannot just serve a very broad market, as in yuppies from 20 to 30, and then that's it. You need to specifically identify what kind of person you want to serve, what kind of problems you want to solve, what kind of people you want to talk to, what kind of people you want to help. Because if you know the kind of person that you want to help, serve, and assist, then you will know the exact kind of product or service that you want to sell. You know what offers you should give them, what their priorities are, how far you can negotiate with. Okay, so that is step number 3. You need to decide right now, after you've done step number 1 and step number 2, you need to decide on one business idea and juxtapose it to one kind of person or one particular profile that you want to serve. That's the only way that you can have the least amount of risk in starting your own business, because you already have a steady set of people who are willing and are eager to give you money so that you can solve their problems and you can help them have a better life. So one thing that I see with a lot of entrepreneurs that I help and that I coach is that when they're starting out, when they're transitioning, they're bombarded with so many ideas, and in fact it drives them crazy, because sometimes I see that some of their ideas are not really business ideas, but they're just small things on the side, and they get distracted. And so for example, let's say I have this mentee. Her name, let's just call her R, because her name starts with letter R. So I have this mentee, and she works at a BPO company, and she wants to move to being a full-time freelance writer, and she doesn't want to report to an office anymore. And then I helped her set up her Upwork account. I helped her finalize and perfect her templates and everything. I told her how to negotiate her rates. I also taught her how to write better, how to write faster. And then I really coached her so that she can be the best freelance writer that she can be. And I gave her everything that I've learned from more than a decade of me being a freelance writer and an entrepreneur. But then, as we were talking, I think on our 3rd meeting, she kept telling me that, her mom has this business and she wants to help and make money from it. And also she asked me about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, that she also wants to invest because she wants to make a little money out of it, because what if freelance writer thing doesn't work? And then she also asked me what my businesses are, because she wants to refer some clients to me for commission, and she wants to be able to do that regularly. And I told her that you need to have singular focus. You need to focus on one thing, because during your transition from being an employee to an entrepreneur, that time is very, very crucial, and your focus cannot be divided. Okay, so let's recap. Step number 1 is you should love your last few days of being an employee. You should cherish it, because those last few days are the key for you to be a successful entrepreneur, or for you to have the easiest time that you will ever have starting out a business. Number 2 is you need to expect to work harder and work longer, and the ratio is not always 1:1, but it is okay. This is you building your foundation towards your business, and this is you um, somehow like depositing and investing into your future in terms of work, in terms of money, and in terms of effort. And then number three, you need to pick singular focus, one business idea, and one set or profile of the people that you particularly want to serve. Now we're down to step number four. And step number four is one of the most common questions that I get from people who are employed but want to start a business, or if they've already started a business but they want a second one because they aren't so sure. So this question is about validation. People usually ask me, how do I validate an idea? How do I know if it will turn into a successful business venture? So first things first, there is no secure business plan that can assure you of any sort of success in business. You just have to do it and do trial and error, and sometimes you're lucky and sometimes you're not. But most of the time you will be lucky, or I don't really want to call it lucky, but things will be good for you and your business will be successful if you've got your ducks straight in a row. Okay, so I've already shared you the past three steps. I hope you took note of that. And this fourth step is about validation. Now, to validate an idea, or if it will be a runnable business, you just need to think of three things. First is, do you have a steady supply of this thing? Okay, so even if it's a product, do you have enough raw materials? Do you have enough supply from a reliable supplier? Do you have more than one reliable suppliers? Do you have the right infrastructure, or do you have the right process to turn it into a product, or to produce this certain product if you're making it yourself? At the same time, if you are offering a service, can you properly find time in your day to produce this service or to serve your clients? So if you have an 8-hour job, then you can do this thing maybe after 6, or maybe you have to wake up extra early, or maybe you have to squeeze in a little bit of work time during your lunch hours. So those are the things that you need to think of first. Number 2 step for validation is you need to know and you need to secure how to sell the product and how your client pays for it. So meaning how to really close the sale in the way that customer doesn't just give their nod. A customer doesn't just give their nod to you, but that person actually pays for the item and you actually got a sale. So the way to do it is you need to know a channel where you can sell it seamlessly, and you need to set up all of the payment systems and all of the payment channels for you to receive payment. So you have to set these up in advance. You can't just open a business and start a business, and when people are interested, they ask about the payment and you make it difficult for them. You have to know what is the best way for them to pay. So one of my businesses, which is the flower shop, we offer gift delivery and flower delivery for people, for their loved ones. And most of our sales are coming from Facebook ads and Facebook. And we used to think we set up a credit card system with our website, but realized that most of the sales are still coming through our Facebook page, and most of the people actually want to pay either through the office in Davao or through money transfer, because most of our clients are still Filipinos, although we have some clients overseas. So because of that, I had to develop a system which caters to these clients who want to pay through multiple payment centers, or like Western Union, Mluwilier, Cebuana, or whatever. So I set up a system that makes it easy for them to pay through there, and I've assigned a particular member of my team to receive the payments from these money or payment centers. So you have to know your client. You have to make it easy for them to pay and actually make that sale. And at the same time, you actually have to sell it first to them. So you have to know how to advertise it to them properly. And then the third validation part is you need to know how to deliver the item, and you need to perfect the delivery of your item. So if it's for shipping, then you need to perfect that channel. If it's a service and if it's face-to-face, then you need to find the right time of the day for you and your ideal client for you to give out that service. If you don't have to meet face-to-face, but you also deliver a service and you have to deliver a particular result, then you need to know how you can give that to the client at the best way possible. Or if you sell a product through a store, then that's easy because you only have to like publish your business hours and you just serve your clients during those business hours. So those are the very easy ways to validate a business idea. And once you have those three down pat, validate your supply, validate your sales and payment, and third is validate the mode of delivery of the product or the service, then now you have a validated business idea, and well, I'm confident to say that you're ready to open and start your business. All right, so let's move to number 5. Let's move to tip number 5. And tip number 5 is all about you being objective. You have to evaluate and monitor constantly, especially when you are just starting out, especially if this is your first business, if it's your first time to do this, and it's your first time ever. You may have accepted that you will make some mistakes along the way, but you don't have to make a lot of mistakes yourself. You can just learn from the mistakes of others, and at the same time you can catch small mistakes as they happen, so you can avoid the bigger ones because it's a ripple effect. So step number 5 is always evaluate and monitor. So step number 4 is you validated your business idea, and maybe by then you have already decided to start selling or to start opening your business, even if it's just as small as starting a Facebook page and you started selling your product or your service through that Facebook page. So step number 5 is continuous evaluate and monitoring. And if you see something wrong, if you see that an ad doesn't work, you have to immediately kill it. Do not be too attached to your idea. Do not be too attached to all the business channels that you initially developed. Do not be too attached to your systems. See, when I started my jewelry business, I wanted it to be an extension service or an extension product line of my flower shop. And in my flower shop, my market are males or the men, because they're the ones usually buying the girls flowers and gifts and stuff like that. But then I realized that when I launched my engagement rings and our diamond and gold jewelry, most of the people who actually bought them were girls. They are girls who wanted to buy themselves a little reward because they feel like they've been working hard but they have nothing to show for it. Sure, they have gadgets and maybe some nice bags and jeans, but for them, jewelry is something different. Jewelry is like a baptism into adulthood, and they feel like jewelry is the thing that makes their success real. And this is something that I didn't really know, I didn't really recognize, even if I am actually part of this market. When I was 25, I bought myself my first diamond ring because I wanted it to be a symbol of me being independent, that I will not wait or depend on a guy to provide for me economically or to want to have to marry me just so I can feel complete. And so that was one big realization for me. So I had to change a lot of parts of my marketing to switch from marketing to guys, and now we're marketing to girls. So 90%, true enough, 90% of our sales are for diamond and gold jewelry, because our niche is cheap diamond and gold jewelry, nothing above 50,000 pesos or $1,000, but they're real gold and they're real diamonds and they have beautiful designs. So all of the pieces are handpicked by me, and if you want to check them out, you can check our Instagram, Steph Sparkles. That's STEF_Sparkles. They're very cute. So now I have to, even if I made that shift, it was easy for me because I realized it right away. I realized it in less than 30 days, and that was a very young and very early part of my business. And now I'm always constantly marketing to girls, and even if I've opened up a new line, I've started selling necklaces as well. Before we only started selling rings, but now we're selling necklaces, and we also started selling South Sea pearls, and they're all affordable and they're all beautiful, and all the girls love them. So I'm really happy that I did that, and I'm really happy that I didn't stick to my initial idea, because when I was starting out that business, in my head, it was so perfect. The guys would buy it. The guys already buy flowers from my shop. They already buy gifts. They love their girls. They're all in a relationship. They want to make their girls happy. But I realized that they're not really the market that's attracted to what I sell. So that's another thing. You have to keep an eye out to what kind of market your product or service attracts. Because sometimes, no matter how hard you market to a specific market, you're not really hitting them right, but you're attracting a different type of market, and if that market's okay to you, if they're not like criminals or something, then it should be worth looking at, and it should be worth investing your time in. Okay, now let's go to number 6, where we will talk about a very icky part of starting a business, and that is cash flow. So cash flow is important because when you're starting a business, you need to be as liquid as possible, because there are a lot of costs and a lot of expenses that you might not oversee, no matter how much preparation you make. So even if you've gotten a lot of advice from your friends and your family and even an accountant, there will be unexpected expenses that you might have to incur when you're starting a business, and you don't know all of this because you're just fresh from being an employee, and it's your first time, and that's okay. So that's why you need to focus on your cash flow. Okay, you need to be real with yourself, and I've already taught you that you should always be objective. Every day you need to keep a record of how much expenses you have and how much sales you did. You need to know what your break-even point is. A break-even point is the minimum amount of sales or cash that you need to make in order to keep the business afloat, in order to pay everyone right, like your if you have a physical space, that's your rent, that's your utilities, your internet, the salary of your people, the minimum amount of advertising that you have to do. You need to know this break-even point or this break-even amount, so that you know how much income you can make after that, and how many products do you need to sell, or how many services do you need to do. So I started my businesses as service-based businesses. So even if in the flower shop we sold flowers and teddy bears and stuff like that, the bulk of what people are actually paying for is the service, that we make it easy for them to sell gifts. We make it easy for them to give gifts and make their loved ones happy, and that's what we're actually selling. My other business, which is an corporate events and PR business, is a service business, which means that we get paid to deliver a particular service, or I get paid to give my consultation, I get paid to give my ideas, to make a creative deck of an event. So that's why I pick these businesses, because I want my cash flow to be, I don't want to have to stock things that may be perishable. I don't want to have to raise a huge amount of capital. I don't want to have to face a lot of cash flow problems because I need to buy something in bulk, okay? But it doesn't mean that you can't do it. Of course, you definitely can do it. That's why I'm telling you that you need to be extra aware of your cash flow, and you need to really pay attention to it. And this is also so you don't keep bleeding cash. Question: is it okay to lose money when you're starting out? I've already told you that when you're starting out, your effort and your investment, whether it's in time or in effort or in cash, might not always be in perfect ratio to your income. That's because you're starting out. So yes, it's definitely okay to lose some money when you're starting out, but you should, things should improve, and you should see it. That's why I told you before, you need to evaluate and monitor. And at the same time, you need to take it out of your head that you're losing money. You're not losing money. You're investing money into a business. You're investing into your future. You're committing to a more free, to a better future with more money. And that's why you're putting in money, time, and effort now. So that's what it is. So another tip for better cash flow. This is something that I teach to my students in my 15 person group coaching program that opens biannually. So there's 15 people in a Facebook group, and I coach them to do 10 cash flow tasks every day from Monday to Friday, weekends optional, so that I can help them make as much cash as possible, and I can help them determine which tasks or which things to do are the best things to do in order to achieve the most cash that they can have, or the most cash possible. So that's what I wanted to do, and that's why I ran this program, because I noticed that even people who have been doing business for a long time, they have a lot of cash flow problems, and that's why it's difficult for them to expand. It's difficult for them to even afford their next vacation. It's difficult for them to have a kid, and support this kid because their business isn't just at the right level that they want to be. So I want to change that, and that's why I developed this program. So that's another tip for you. And don't forget, you need try to do this at home. You need to do at least 10 things every day that guarantees or leads to cash coming to you. It can be something as big as pitching to a big head of a company about your product or your services, or maybe you run a Facebook ad, or maybe you posted something on your profile pitching your product or your service, or even you're selling useless stuff at home. As long as there's cash coming in, then you will be, and your business will be in a very, very good and liquid place, and that's the ideal place to be for your business always. Okay, so now that you have the cash tip down pat, the next thing that you need to think about, and this is tip number 7, is that you have to keep your clients happy. Client satisfaction, customer delight is key to a successful business when you're starting out. So you have your first few customers. So remember, this is very important because these people are the people who believed in you when you have nothing to show for, when you're just starting out, when you have no social proof yet. So you need to keep them happy because they will also be your first evangelists. They will also be the first people to believe in you enough to tell other people about how good you are and how you help them and how easier their lives are because you've helped them achieve it through your product or your service. So you need to make sure that they're happy, because through them you can also study what other complementary products or services you can offer, how you can make your job better, how you can do a better job, or how you can serve them better in terms of the payment. You know, you get to pay attention to all their needs and wants, so you can just keep perfecting your offer, and maybe along the way you can even add some stuff, some products or services to your portfolio, and you can upsell them well. So pay attention to your first few customers, make sure they're delighted, make sure they're really happy, and you know, don't forget to ask for a recommendation, a referral. You're starting out, don't be shy. They want to help you. If you help other people, it will be their best interest to help you as well. Because if you help them and you expand your business, then you're also expanding your capacity to help other people just like them. Now, tip number 8. Tip number 8 is, when you've kept your customer happy, which is from tip number 7, you now have to beef up on your social proof. Ask for testimonials from them, post photos on social media. You know, you can even release a press release through the newspaper or through a blog, or just keep bragging about how you help these people and how you know, how good of a company you are, how good of a service provider you are. You need to constantly remind people how good you are. So build up your social proof, get people to talk about you, and get people to remember not just who you are, but most importantly, how good you are. And sometimes other people who are just, you know, standing on the sidelines might not buy from you now, but they remember you, and when they need something that you're selling, or this product or the service that you're selling, they'll either hire you because they remember you, or refer you to someone that they know might need your product or your service. And they're happy to recommend you because they've already seen that you're doing a good work, and you make these other people happy based on the testimonials that they saw, or based on the things that they heard from other people, which are your first customers, which you already took care of because you just make your customers happy and you pay attention to them and you evaluate and monitor all the time. So we're now down to our last 2 tips from the 10 practical tips of moving from being an employee to an entrepreneur. So as you look through all of the past steps, you can see that they're really arranged chronologically. You have to do this before you do the next, and then you do the next, and then you do the next. So I don't want you to skip any step. You have to do all of them in the right order. Or if you're crazy like me, you can do all 10 of them at the same time. So now we're down to the last 2 tips. Okay, step number 9. Now that you've done a lot of things for your business, you've done a lot of marketing, social proof, validation. Here's the round two of validation that you have to do. So when you've built up your business, got some clients, did some selling, maybe you're thinking of doing some expansion, you might ask yourself, is this the right time to really, really leave that idea of employment? Or is it enough? Or is it safe for me to say that the business works? This is, I say, the round two of validation, because before we just validated your business idea and whether your idea is good enough to be transformed into a process, and the process good enough to be transformed into a real business. This round two of validation is you validating if your business is good to run long term. So for me, step number 9 is all about that first 3 to 6 months of your business and how consistent it is in terms of the income and process level that you want it to be. So first is income level. If you recently moved or you're thinking of moving from being an employee to an entrepreneur, you need to take into consideration that before you were just depending on one source of income, which is your paycheck or your salary. But now maybe you've started something on the side. This is your side hustle, you know. You wake up earlier than usual, or you spend time working on your business after you're done working with your job. And because you work harder, of course your results will show, and you will earn money, and then you will sell some stuff and you will make some customers happy. So when you get to that level of income where you can feel that it has been consistent, that it works, that your process and your system works, and it's enough to replace what you're earning with your salary, then maybe it's the right time to just quit your job and focus on your business. Because if your side hustle earns the same or more than your business, than your job, and it has been going on for 3 to 6 months, then it's safe to say that if you focus on it and if you make it your one thing that you focus on, instead of doing this job for 8 hours and then maybe just doing the business for 4 hours a day, then it can have so much more potential. You can make so much more money, plus the security that you have something for yourself as well. Because if you're employed, there might be other factors that might get in the way of you having security. Like, there might be something about the office politics that you don't like. A calamity may hit your target customers. You may not make enough sale because the economy is down, and other things that you can't control. So with having a business, there are more things that you can control, and there are more things that you can easily evaluate and easily change, as long as you're objective. And that's one thing that I already told you about. So question, why is it 3 to 6 months? So for me, 3 to 6 months is the sweet spot and it's the best time, because for me, it's just the right time to decide if something works, and it's also not too late to give yourself the right kind of momentum in just giving it all or going all in for your business idea. I don't want you to have cold feet the first moment you realize that it actually works. I want you to stay for just a little bit to just confirm that it works and then go. So it's 3 months maybe for someone who is more of a risk taker. So this also depends on your personality. If it has been consistent for 3 months, okay, don't count when you started. Don't start counting. Start counting the moment you get to your ideal income level and it stays consistent that way. So let's say that your target income level is 50,000 pesos a month, or $1,000 for this side hustle. So you're working on something for 4 hours a day after your job, and you make 50,000 pesos out of it in a month. And then the next month you made 50,000, and then the next month for some reason you made 20,000. You have to go back to step 1. I mean you have to go back to counting from month 1. After that you make 50,000, and then on the second month you made 30,000, you go back. And then you make 50,000, 50,000, 50,000, and if it's consistent, then that's the right time that you can count it as part of the 3 to 6 month business validation that I want you to have. So once again, this is not just about income, although that is a really, really big thing, because the first, one of the biggest reasons why you want to move from being an employee to an entrepreneur is that you want to make more money, and you want to make more money for yourself and not for other people. So when you when you decide that the entrepreneurship is really the way to go, you should set your goals straight, and you should be on the lookout and target this 3 to 6 month validation period. And by that time, then you can definitely say, when you get to the 6 month, you can definitely say that it works, and then you can give it all in, and then you get to tap into so much more potential money, potential networks and connections, and potential emotional investment. Because as what I said, it's not just the money, it's also a part of you, making a commitment to yourself to build something that's fully your own, something that might be part of your legacy. If you have children, this is something that your children, your spouse will be proud about, and maybe your children and grandchildren can still continue as part of your family legacy. All right, now we're down to step number 10, or the last step, which I really want you to do, because this is the only way after that business validation, this is the only way that you can really, really supercharge your momentum. So this is like a jetpack in business. It's not just a little push, a little nudge, it's like a real jetpack. So step number 10 is you need to consistently seek out learning and have a mentor, okay? So the mentor can be a friend or maybe a relative, although I don't really advise that unless they're really experts and professionals in that field. But it can also be a stranger that you have been following for a while, or a mentor that you have been checking out and you know is legitimate. So a mentor or a coach will help you find your blind spots, and will help you become more objective. And they can also see a lot of things that you don't see, because they're more objective and third-party point of view. Aside from that, they have the breadth of experience and the breadth of network and expertise to help you into avoiding some pitfalls before you make it. So if you make mistakes, sure, you can ask for advice, but if you can avoid those mistakes, then that's better. So if you can't afford a mentor at this point, what you can do is you can also seek out learning through workshops. So if you can't afford a one-on-one coach, maybe you can just go to his or her workshops. You can buy his or her books. You can maybe reach out to that person on social media or something. So there's a lot of things that you can do, but what I want you to do at this point is you need to actively seek out learning and focus on yourself being taught, on teaching yourself all of these things, all the things that you might have missed. Okay, so because even if you've practiced all of the 9 steps that I've told you, there still might be something that you can improve on, something that you didn't see, and a mentor or a coach would be great to help you with that. So thank you so much for staying, and I hope that you learned a lot. You can come back here on my website for more tips and cheat sheets. Just check out the resources, and if you're ready to make an investment for yourself, you can also check out my mentorship programs at one of the pages here. Congratulations for making this commitment to yourself, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to be part of your journey.